Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're focusing on Entegris. You've shared a really interesting collection of recent information about this company, and well, our goal is to break down what seems most important for you to understand right now.
hmm
We've got earnings reports, some news about government funding, dividend announcements, and analyst sentiment too. It's quite a mix.
It is. A lot happening there.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to getting up to speed on Entegris. So where should we kick things off? How about their recent financial performance? Looks like 2024 finished pretty strong.
It did, but what's interesting, I think, is the contrast. You have the performance in Q4 2024, and then you look at what they're guiding for the near future.
Okay.
So Q4 net sales hit $850 million. That's a solid 5% jump year over year. And their non-GAAP diluted EPS, that came in at a lot of going 84 cents. Actually beat the estimates by about 7 cents.
That does sound encouraging.
Definitely positive news, yeah.
But then, like you said, you look at the guidance for Q1 2025, and it feels, well, a bit more reserved. Is that fair?
I think so. They're projecting sales somewhere between $775 and $805 million.
Right.
And the non-GAAP EPS, that's guided for 64 cents to 71 cents. So yeah, a noticeable step down from those Q4 numbers.
Which raises questions about the growth pace, right?
Yeah.
Looking bigger picture, the full year revenue was around $3.2 billion.
About that, yeah. And the projection for 2025 is $3.42 billion. So that's,
Yeah.
what, 5.6% growth.
Okay, 5.6%. But isn't that, well, slower than they've grown historically? I thought I saw a mention of much higher average growth before.
That's a really key point. It is slower. One source mentioned something like a 17% average growth over the last 5 years. So this shift, this change in the growth trajectory, that's definitely something important for listeners to weigh up when thinking about future potential.
That is quite a difference. And it's interesting, even though their statutory EPS for the last year beat expectations, pretty well came in at $1.93, about 12% over the forecast for 2025 is only looking at a, 6.3% increase to $2.06. And you mentioned analysts seem to have actually trimmed their EPS estimates after these results came out.
That's right. Which is telling. It sort of suggests that while the past performance was good, maybe there are some underlying worries about keeping that momentum going.
It really highlights looking beyond just the headline beat, doesn't it? Need to watch those forward indicators and how analysts are reacting.
Absolutely. It's crucial. And now maybe we can shift to some of the strategic stuff. Looks like Entegris landed some pretty significant funding.
Yes, the FGPS Act money. That caught my eye. Up to $77 million, I believe, for a new manufacturing center in Colorado Springs.
That's the one.
This feels like a big deal. The facility's focus is on liquid filtration products and those FOUPs, the front opening unified pods.
And creating, what, 600 jobs?
Around 600, yeah. And this is really strategic if you think about it. With the push to bolster domestic semiconductor manufacturing,
Right.
Entegris is positioning itself nicely. Those FOUPs, they're critical. Highly specialized containers, for protecting silicon wafers during chip making, very high precision stuff.
So it's not just growth for them, it aligns with bigger national goals, too. Precisely. It helps them expand, but it also fits into that broader semiconductor ecosystem push in the U.S.
Okay. And besides that big funding news, they also announced a dividend, a quarterly cash one.
Yep, $0.10 per share. Paid out back in February this year, offers a little return to shareholders.
Always good to see. And there was a board change, too. Mary Puma joined back in September 2024.
That's right. Brings the board total up to 8 members.
How significant are moves like these, the dividend and the board appointment?
Well, board composition always matters. Adding someone experienced like Mary Puma presumably brings valuable insight. The dividend, even if the yield isn't huge, signals some financial confidence, maybe a commitment to shareholder returns. Generally positive signs, I'd say.
Makes sense. Now, another strategic thing. The divestitures. They sold off their electronic chemicals and pipeline and industrial materials segments. That seems like quite a refocus.
It really does. And the message seems pretty clear. They're doubling down on their core semiconductor materials business.
Right, shedding the other parts.
Exactly. By selling those off, they can funnel resources, cash, R&D, everything into the areas where they think they have the strongest edge, the biggest growth potential. Yeah. For investors, that increased focus could potentially mean more innovation in their key markets.
Streamlining to focus on the core strengths. Okay. Let's pivot now to their market position and the stock itself. The price as of, let's see, April 11th was around $69.72. A slight tick up from the days before. Seems like that CGPS funding news and the solid earnings probably gave it a bit of a lift.
Seems likely. But it's worth remembering, the price around $70, one of your sources mentioned the stock actually jumped almost 5% right after the yearly results, hitting $107 a share.
Oh, wow. Big difference.
It is. It really highlights the volatility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Suggests maybe the initial excitement got tempered a bit by a broader look at the future, or maybe just market conditions, a reminder that things can swing.
Definitely. Good point. And analyst sentiment, generally positive, it seems. I saw mention of expected earnings growth maybe around 24.79% next year. That sounds pretty good on the surface.
It does sound good, but then you circle back to those reduced EPS estimates we talked about earlier. It adds a layer of maybe caution beneath that optimism. And there's still that big question mark over the broader semiconductor market recovery. That's a huge factor that could impact those growth numbers.
True. That industry is famously cyclical. So thinking about that wider industry context, the recovery seems uneven. Advanced logic, AI-driven stuff doing better.
That seems to be the picture, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is actually where Entegris' strengths could really shine. Their deep knowledge in material science and purity, that becomes more critical as chips get more complex, more miniaturized.
Because the tolerances get tighter.
Exactly. The demands on the materials are just much, much higher. So their specialization, their niche, you could argue, becomes even more valuable as the technology pushes forward.
So their competitive position sounds pretty strong then. They have this wide product range, the purity expertise, materials that are essential and difficult for customers to swap out.
That's a key advantage. Once their solutions are specified in a manufacturing process, it's often costly and complex for a customer to change suppliers. They've built a solid position, especially after buying CMC materials.
How do they stack up against the really big players, like Applied Materials or Lam Research?
Well, those guys are generally more diversified, broader equipment makers.
Right.
Entegris is more specialized in the materials and the contamination control side of things. That focuses their strength. It differentiates them, creates a sort of moat.
Okay, so clear strengths. Let's talk risks and opportunities. The CHIPS Act funding is obviously a big opportunity for U.S. expansion. What about the risks?
Well, the flip side of that CFPS funding, any regulatory hiccups, delays in getting the money, that could be a risk.
Sure.
And more broadly, just the overall pace of the semiconductor market recovery. If it stays sluggish, that's a headwind. Plus, macroeconomic stuff, interest rate shifts, things like that, could put pressure on them.
And didn't the sources also flag a couple of specific concerns? Slower revenue growth than maybe the market expects compared to history?
Yes, that projected slower growth rate is definitely something noted as a potential red flag, or at least something to watch.
And their reliance on the semiconductor industry, something like 80%.
That's the other one. Around 80% of their products go into semiconductor manufacturing. That makes them very sensitive to the ups and downs of that one specific sector. Less diversification means more vulnerability to sector swings.
Valid points. Okay, so wrapping things up, the analyst outlook. We said they've trimmed forecasts for 2025, showing some caution despite past beats, but the average price target is still up around $128, though the range is pretty wide.
It is a wide range, yeah. $115 to $150, I think. It suggests maybe some disagreement among analysts or just acknowledges the level of uncertainty. They see potential upside, clearly, but the forecast cuts show they're also weighing those risks we discussed.
So what are the key things to watch going forward? Earnings report, innovations.
Definitely upcoming earnings. And any news on product breakthroughs. Those will give the next clues on performance and direction. The big risks remain, semiconductor market conditions, cyclicality again, and any regulatory changes.
And one source actually gave a specific recommendation. Hold.
Yes. That hold recommendation seems to capture the current balance pretty well, I think. You've got clear strengths, real opportunities like CGPS, but also these significant risks and uncertainties that probably warrant a bit of caution right now.
So to bring it all together for our listeners, we've painted a picture of Entegris with strong recent financials, some really significant strategic moves like that CHIPS Act funding. That's the positive side. But there are definite headwinds. That slower expected revenue growth is key, and their heavy dependence on the semiconductor cycle is something you just can't ignore.
Absolutely.
It feels like the market and the analysts are kind of cautiously optimistic. They see the potential, but they're aware of the risks. The information you brought together gives a really good snapshot of where Entegris is right now.
Hopefully useful, yeah.
We definitely encourage listeners to dig into Entegris' own investor relations materials, follow those upcoming earnings calls, and really form their own view. Thanks for walking us through this collection of sources.
Good discussion.
And for everyone listening, if you found this analysis helpful, please do subscribe, like, and maybe leave us a comment. We appreciate the feedback.